Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about this latest episode of Sister Wife, Season 5, Episode 3. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also let me know your thoughts in the comments. So in this episode, we see where there's, I guess, a continuation of the trip in Mexico with Garrick and Danielle. And they're going to head out today for an excursion. They're going to a cenote, and it looks to be like a watering hole. And it's really neat. They said they were going into the jungle. I don't know if it's really in the jungle, maybe more, a lot of vegetation, but I don't know if it would be safe to call that jungle. But anyway, Garrick and Danielle were talking about how, when they met Natalia, Garrick was saying how she dressed different from Roberta. Roberta was more like a farmer girl or something like that because she wore overalls. And they keep bringing up Roberta a lot. And I just wonder, well, I don't wonder. I just feel like maybe they're rushing things because that's all they can't stop talking about Roberta. And it seems like the hurt is just too fresh for them to be taking on somebody else. But anyway, Danielle says, she felt a connection right away with Roberta, but she's not so sure with Natalia. And so they go to the cenote, and before you go into the watering hole, that's what I'm calling it, you have to shower first. And so Natalia took off her cover up, and Garrick was like, ooh la la, or something like that. He's just lusting over her. And he's saying, oh, what a nice body she has, and what kind of, beautiful kids they'll have. He also said that, he's hoping that she gets along with Danielle and the boys because, it's important for him because he wants to propose. He keeps talking about how he wants to propose to her, or how he wants to propose to her. And I feel like he's just in lust. And he says everything has to be right in order for him to propose to her. But I have a feeling that even if things weren't perfect or to, the way that he wants them to, because he's so lusty, he's going to proceed anyway, regardless. So when they went to the cenote, I guess there's bats in there. It's kind of a little darker, like has like a little waterfall from above. And so when the bats came out, it kind of spooked Natalia, and so she didn't want to go back in. I think she was in before she didn't go in. And so they were trying to get her to come in. And they're like, oh, it's okay, come on. Danielle kept calling her. And I'm like, you don't coax her. She's an adult. If she doesn't feel like she wants to do it, just let her be. And so they keep trying to coax her to come in. I'm like, oh my gosh, just stop. So anyway, they were in there, and, she never went back in because she's scared of the bats. So later when they got back home, they had to do the translation thing as she apologized that, she wasn't able to enjoy the outing with them. And they're like, oh, it's fine. Of course, when they're sitting on the sofa, Garrick is like underneath Natalia's armpit just about. I don't know if he rushed to get next to her or what. But he's there rubbing her leg, and he's making every excuse to touch her. Danielle is on the other side, and they said, oh, it's okay. Everything's not going to be perfect. Everybody's different or whatever. But Danielle keeps talking about how Natalia's personality is different and whatever. She's kind of standoffish, I guess. So after they had the conversation, Natalia's like, I'm going to go to bed. So they walked her to her room, and somebody said, I love you very much. I'm thinking it's Garrick. And I'm like, you just met this lady. But anyway, in her confessional, Natalia says that she feels connected to him, and she thinks that she might already be in love with him. She also mentioned how he looks good physically. He was concerned about his body when they had talked online. So he said that he was working out so he can please her when they meet. So Garrick has been putting in the work, I guess, to try to appeal to her. So anyway, she said that she feels like she's already in love with Garrick, but then Danielle, it's going to take some work. And I guess you could tell because she's kind of standoffish. It's just a really weird dynamic. So yeah, this is where their segment ended, with her going to her room, and they go to their quarters. So we meet a new couple in this episode. We meet Justin and Becky. They're from Salina, Texas. And so he says that they met when they were teenagers. He said how she tried to ask him out and he said thank you, but she kept coming and coming and coming and said that they needed to get married. I'm like, what? Are you trying to say that she was chasing you? You didn't really want her, but because she kept asking and asking and asking, she eventually wore you down? That's not cool. Why would you tell us this? Like, I don't know if I like this guy. So anyway, he said that they got married at 19 and she was 16. So she was still in high school. So I was wondering why anyone would authorize a 16-year-old to get married, but Becky goes on to explain that in their church, they believe in polygamy and that her dad was the pastor of the church. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this makes sense. She says she grew up in a polygamous household, and she goes on to tell us that they have 6 children and 4 of them are at home. She says she wished she had had a sister wife, especially when they were younger. Sounds like you need a nanny. That's what you're looking for, a nanny. But anyway, Justin said it's more than just having extra sex partners. A sister wife would be like having an ally. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Is an extra sex partner not a part of it? What's this ally going to be doing? They're going to be a babysitter, a maid, extra sex partner. What is the ally thing? So she says he said that he was hoping that Stephanie would come back. So Stephanie, we're told, is a potential sister wife who lives somewhere else in the country. Becky goes on to tell us that she had agreed to be their sister wife on the second time that she came to visit them. But now she's not really sure. She, from time to time has an issue with this whole polygamy thing. She's concerned about what people will think of her. And so she has basically ghosted them again. So at least, this sounds almost to be worse than Garrick and Danielle, in a sense that at least Roberta ghosted them once when she was supposed to come and didn't come. But it seems like they've had this problem with Stephanie more than once. So now she's ghosted them again. So they said that he said that he loves her, and he loves her like he loves Becky. And Becky was just like looking off to the side. I don't know if I would like somebody who I've been married to for a gazillion years to say that they love somebody that they just met like they love me. Really? I would have been offended. But let me know, how would you think about this if it were you? Maybe I'm just the jealous type. I'm really not the jealous type, but I feel like I wouldn't like that statement at all. So they're looking for, Justin said they're looking for somebody like Stephanie, but somebody who's not ruled by fear or anxiety. So basically they're directing that at Stephanie because she can't make up her mind as to whether she want to be in this polygamous thing. And they feel like it's because she's fearful of what people will think and all that. So we see where they're heading out to go look for a potential sister wife. They're going out somewhere, but the primary objective is to try to talk to people and see if they can find a sister wife. They're nervous because they haven't been on the dating scene since they were teenagers. So I wonder how they met Stephanie. Did they say, or did I miss that? I'm just curious as to why they're so nervous when they had a potential sister wife already. How did they meet her? So when they get there, he tells Becky that she needs to go talk to the ladies, whoever they feel like they want to talk to, because it would be creepy for him to do so. So they're there looking around, scoping out the women. And so basically she's going to have to do all the work. He already took himself out of the equation. So he said that, he's going to go to the car to get his cards. So she's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. It'll make it less awkward. So while he's gone, Becky goes over to talk to one of the ladies that she had her eye on. This lady, her name is Desiree, And so she goes and asks if she's single. And she's like, yeah. And so she's like, would you be interested in dating my husband? She's like, my husband? And the lady next to her, who's her friend, was looking the other way. And I could tell from her face that she was trying not to laugh or something. It looked to me anyway like she was trying not to laugh, like, what is this? So she's like, I'm divorced. I have 2 children, and I just couldn't see myself sharing. And so then she goes back to get his card, and he was like, come on, do you want to meet Desiree? And so he comes over to say hi. And, you know, Becky was saying, like, to her, you know, since she was interested in hearing more, then it's not a total loss. It's not a complete no. So they, you know, she brings him over to talk. He asks, you know, what does she do? She's some director, some ministry thing. He asks if she likes to work out, which she does. And she thinks Becky is sweet and he's a gentleman. They had a good little conversation, chit chat. They talked to her friend. He said he heard an accent. She's from Estonia. And yeah, Desiree had an awful big smile on her face for somebody who's not really interested in polygamy. But anyway, they asked if she was free tomorrow evening, and she's like, you know what? I am free. So they asked, you know, they want to meet up with her tomorrow. She gave them her number. And so I guess they have plans to meet up. And I'm like, this is weird. This took a complete 180 or a complete 360, because you were just saying this is a step up from swingers. So now you're going to go meet up with them knowing what they're interested in. This should be interesting. Shane is home alone while Ashley takes their baby to swimming. So his friend is coming over, and he's going to bounce, I guess, the situation off of her, let her know what's going on, see what her thoughts are. So he's home cleaning the pool, and then Rachel comes by. So she says she knows about their lifestyle. They've been pretty open about it. I think she's known about it since the beginning of the year, from when that was taped or something, she said. And so she's curious about how it worked. You know, she's asking, you know, how they would integrate the person that they find into the family. So he's explaining, so basically Ashley would have a relationship with this new person. He would have a relationship with Ashley, but his relationship with the new person would be platonic. And I'm like, this is something. So there's no benefit in it for him. It's just for Ashley. It's just weird. So it reminds me of somebody who's in a monogamous relationship, but who's bisexual, who gets to like have their time, you know? So anyway, he goes on to tell Rachel about Grace. So you remember Grace? She was the one who did the makeup at the wedding. So she remembers her. She's like, oh, a small world. And he goes on to tell her about how Grace didn't want to meet him, and he thought it was weird, and so did she. He also tells her about how awful the meeting went, and, you know, tells her about what happened with the job, and how he says, you know, about channeling, and asks him about, you know, if he's been to therapy, and how he said, oh, it shows, and all that. So she agrees with Shane that, you know, Grace was being disrespectful. He tells her how awful the meeting was. And so, yeah, Rachel said that this is a good indicator that it wasn't going to work anyway, because he was disrespecting him, and he's like 50% of the relationship. So the lack of respect is definitely a sign that they shouldn't proceed, on top of the fact that she didn't want to meet him. So he goes on to say, in recounting the story with Rachel, you know, he wonders why Ashley had dated Grace for so long. And also, you know, Rachel asked him, now what if Ashley wants to move forward with Grace and he doesn't? He said he would be like, what the heck? That is such a lame response. And it just seems like he has no say-so, or a very limited say-so in what's happening in this pseudo polygamy thing that they have going on. It's all Ashley's show, and he just has to roll with it. Of course, he can state his opinion, but it doesn't sound like he has, you know, any weight. His opinions have any weight. You know, it's up to her. So apparently, he says that Ashley hasn't made a decision about Grace as yet, and he's not happy. he didn't tell this to Rachel. He was just saying, in his confessional. And he doesn't see what Ashley sees in Grace, especially with the fact that she disrespected him. Ashley says she didn't really want to make any rash decisions. She wanted to take some time and think things through. And ultimately, she felt like it was best not to move forward with Grace. So, of course, Shane was happy about that. He asked her if she's thought about how she's going to, break this to her. They're in bed, sitting in the bed, laying in the bed. And so she whips out her phone. I thought she was going to look up, how to, what to say to break up with somebody. But she was actually drafting the message to Grace. And so she goes into this whole tangent to tell her, like, she feels like it's not a good fit. So she sends the message, and Shane was asking, do you need help sending the message? She's like, no, it's already sent. So right after she sent this text message, she gets one right back. Grace says she's not surprised to hear the response. And when she woke up this morning, she felt in her gut that it wasn't the right thing for her. She feels like maybe she's looking for a deeper spiritual connection, and she wishes them luck. So that ended pleasantly enough. Shane says, the experience with Grace is very disappointing, and hopefully Ashley will bounce back. Ashley says that, they probably will have to put things on hold here soon, within a month from her due date, because she's going to be so big, she can't go out dating. So it doesn't seem like she is feeling any kind of way about this not working out. She seems to still be ready to move forward in seeking out, a sister wife. Danielle has agreed to talk to the producers since she moved out. We see that she has already gotten an apartment, signed a lease. So they want to talk to her, I guess, ask her a few questions. So see that she's driving somewhere. The producers are in the car, and they're asking, what made her leave. She said, which we already knew she wasn't comfortable with, expanding the family. She feels like it wouldn't be fair for her to stay there if she's feeling some level of discomfort with everything and if she's not all in. And she feels like she needs to remove herself and take some time to figure out what it is that she wants to do. So they asked her if she said goodbye to Vera, and then she started crying because she said, the night before that she put on her pajamas, tell her she loved her and all of that. But in essence, no, like, how do you tell a child that you're going to be going away and they're never going to see you again? And she said that, it's better that she leaves now than while she can't understand this stuff than later. And, she feels like, she does love Vera and the family. However, she's not in a place where she is in agreement with what they want to do. And so this is why she got the apartment, and feel like she needs to sort things out first, before she agrees to the whole setup that they want her to do. And it's better for her to do that in her own space. So next time we see Danielle, we are told that Danielle agreed. We see April on the screen, and she says that after a few days, Danielle had returned their text, and then that she had agreed to move back. What? So I don't know how much time it had passed between the time that she was talking to the producers and the time that she decided to move back. But why? If they're wanting to expand the family, this is something that you're not comfortable with, what has changed? So Danielle says that, she really loves the family. She there's no doubt in her mind that she loves Nick and her sister wives. And so, she wanted to, I guess, give things a chance. And prior to that, they had asked if she had said goodbye to Jen and April while she was in the car with the producers. And she said no, because that would have made things real for her. And I guess she didn't want to, face up or see the hurt from them and all that, all the emotions that come with, having to tell them this. And so she didn't. So the producers had asked prior to her moving back if she would have been willing to sit down and have a conversation with the family. And I don't know if this is how she ended up reaching back out to them, or if they had already been trying to reach out to her before the producers asked if she was willing to have that conversation. So yeah, she ended up moving back. Things are a bit awkward. April is still concerned about, the state of the family because she feels like things are still, even though Danielle has moved back, things are still a bit unstable. And Nick is concerned as well because, she moved out, and she's worried about maybe if she would change her mind in the past and move out again. And, so he's worried, he's nervous. We see where he's outside grilling, and so they're getting ready for dinner, and I guess they're going to have this conversation about, what really went down, or, try to figure out what's happening or what the state of things are going forward. So after he grills out, he sits at the table, and yeah, it's a lot of silence at the table. And so he's like, oh, I want to check in with everybody and see how you're feeling. But then he goes on to direct his question to Danielle, like, you took some drastic action, and I want to know that, if you're okay with them expanding the family. And she says, when he posed that question to her, she says she's not in a good place with it, and she got emotional and left the table and went inside. What? Why are you back? What is this all about? I'm so confused. But anyway, this is where the scene left in their segment. Let me know what your thoughts are with Danielle coming back. Does it make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me, because she's still not okay with it. What are we trying to accomplish here? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe.